All right, good morning. How is everybody today? It is a beautiful sunshiny day here in Kansas City, and we've had a lot of rain this year, but it is so nice when the sun comes out. Doesn't it just give you energy? Does me. It makes me just like liven up, gives me energy for the day. So, ladies and gentlemen, if there's any gentlemen watching, mostly it's us ladies, but whoever is here, I just want to thank you for your time, for showing up, giving me part of your day. And I just enjoy it so much being able to have this chat time with you and sharing whatever thoughts and message might come out from when we're meeting together. I try to be very open to the Holy Spirit and that just talking about things that are relevant to you, things that can make a difference in your life. So that is my prayer each day as we get on, is that somehow the Lord will speak through me and make a difference in your life. So I am going to look over here as I always do. I see that we're here and I see on Facebook, but right now I don't see any comments. So I'm going to just check. All right. Are we still here? Can y'all hear me okay? I see that I'm live. And I don't, but there was a little echo, so I had to turn one of the things off. If you're out there, can you just send me a little, I don't know, try the chat. Yeah. Okay. So in the chat, if you can just put, yes, you can hear me, or if you can't hear me, put a thing in the chat. Okay. Can you hear me? I'll put it in there. Can you hear me? All right. So if you are out there. So I'm just going to assume you can and that all is well here. All right. Says my audio is working. So we're going to talk about it's a subject that actually I talk about periodically, but some in different ways sometimes. And the title, as you saw today, is you don't have to preach it, just live it. So I think sometimes when we talk about giving our testimony or sharing what Jesus means to us, or when we talk about just our lives and our walk of faith, we feel like sometimes, because I've heard ladies say this, well, I'm not a preacher. And it's like, well, nobody wants you to be unless God's called you to be, right? We are all called by the Lord to be faithful and to share his message, but not necessarily to be what we would call a preacher or a pastor or someone who stands up at a podium and teaches that way. But we are all called to share what the Lord means to us. And there will be times. So I'm going to kind of go down two paths here. One is, and they sound like they're opposite, but they're really not. So just kind of trust me on that. Um, oh, Oh yes, Kathy, you're right. I can actually see the chat. I'm so excited. You know, oh, and technology works, and I figure it out. It's like so amazing. So thank you, Kathy. And yes, we have had a lot of free water this year, and everything is so beautiful, so lush. The green of the trees and the bushes and all that, and the grass is just amazing. So okay, so back to to over here, so that I can share with you guys. So we're going to go down the one path of that thought of, well, I'm not a preacher, so I really can't share, my testimony, and then the other path is, you don't have to preach it. The other point is, when called into account, when somebody actually says to you, how do you handle things so well? How did you manage the death in your family, or when you lost your job and didn't have a job for 6 months or a year? How did you handle that? Those are the times when we are called to step up. When somebody literally straight out asks you, we need to be ready to tell them. We need to be ready to tell them about our faith. And that is something that I'm going to be talking about. And we're going to actually be doing in our Fun Fearless Female luncheon next week. We're doing something a little bit different. So those of you who are going to be joining us, by the way, get your ticket. We're down to a week from tomorrow when our luncheon is. So we need to get those tickets in by Sunday night. So little plug over there for the luncheon. So there's the times when we're just living our life, our day-to-day life. Our life will reflect what we believe, how we live our life, how we respond to the circumstances that happen, how we respond to tragedies or joy or winning or losing. all of those things, those normal everyday things, it's how we respond and how we react that really shows who we are, who our character is, our integrity. There's a couple of quotes. As a matter of fact, they come from two different people. I was looking this up and I thought it was pretty interesting. Um, I'll look it up over on my notes, but it's the thing of that how, excuse me, how you live your life is what people see. Your character is reflected in what we do every day, but that the right thing is always the right thing. Your integrity shines through even when you think people aren't watching, it's doing the right thing, whether anybody's around or not. Do you just do the right thing because it is the right thing to do? And we sometimes think, well, nobody's watching, but we really, I think we'd be shocked and amazed to realize how many times people are watching and they are judging, even though I don't think they are intending to be judging, but I think that is what happens. Because if we walk out of line, you can just look at I mean, as terrible as it is in the news, if somebody can be up on this pedestal and it's amazing and everybody thinks they're wonderful, which is a little bit of idolatry in my mind, but in any case, they get up there and then they do one thing. Now, a lot of these one things are horrible, but sometimes it's just a little misstep, making somebody does something and then all of a sudden they're down off the pedestal and all this bad talk. So it's like everybody's waiting for things for us to make the wrong decision, for us to not walk in integrity. So in the case of that, I like to just think about the fact that you can only do the best you can do at any point in time. If you're in the middle of crisis, all you can do is the best you can do. I always thought that'd make a great t-shirt. All you can do is the best you can do. Because there's just sometimes in your life that you're walking through hard things. And certainly none of us are going to make the best decision every single time. And we don't even know really if that's the best decision until we get past it. Sometimes we just don't know. And all we can do is just pray that the Lord will guide us in making those different decisions. One of the prayers that I pray all the time, and particularly in response to my kids and the family, and I was going to say mostly when they were young, but now I don't think that's true. It continues to be because they walk through hard times too. And so just the Lord will give me wisdom and discernment. Okay, just wisdom and discernment as I talk to other people, as I talk to my kids, as I'm trying to guide them or just be there as a support, not so much guide them anymore, although maybe it is. But anyway, mainly just being there as a support for them. But all that we can do is the best we can do. So it's what we've stored up in our heart. It's who we are inside. So an exercise that you can do, and I have found to be very, very helpful, is really give some time. I would love it if you would like to respond on that today. But really think about what is your core value? What is that thing in your soul, in your heart, that's the core value that guides your life? Now, for all of us that are Christians, it really starts out with it's all about Jesus. And I love that. Do you know? Okay, another sidebar. Y'all know how I am. that's what live is all about. This is not pre-labeled. I do not have a speech that I'm looking at in here. So in Bible school or in kids camp, which is where I'll be next week, I am going to leave a recording for you guys. It probably won't be right at 9:30 because it just probably won't. But there will be one next week because I'll be helping with the snacks and crafts at Vacation Bible School, at kids camp. I'm old school. It was Vacation Bible School, VBS, every summer. Well, now at our church, it's called Kids Camp, and I've seen that across the city. A lot of places have that. So at 9:30 next week, that's where I'll be. But I will have left or will be leaving you a recording for next week, just so you have your little lift for the day. So, but it's how we go about each day. And as I said, how we react to that. And I'm going to give you a couple scriptures that I just think are helpful for this. 1 John 3:18 says, dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth. Faith always responds in action. So as we're going along, it's how we treat other people. One of the things I think about a lot now, I haven't seen much of this recently, but I have in the past. We're at a restaurant because it just cringes me when I see it happen, that there will be somebody at a table close by or they're in the same room, and one of the people will treat the server with such disrespect or such a condensation. I mean, where they just look down on them, and you can hear it in their tone and what they say, and it hurts me in a table across across the room. So how, looking at ourselves, how do you treat the other people that come into your life, those random encounters that happen, whether it's in a restaurant or somebody's serving you for something else, but whatever that looks like, really take a look at that. Now, chances are, now, there are a few of you that have responded here. I know you, and you are kind all the time. Good morning to Kathy. And then hi, Diane. Nice to see you here as well. Anybody else out there that wants to say a little hello, that would be great. So how do we treat the people around us? Do we act like we think we're better than they are? Do we treat them with respect? And I think that it makes such a difference. Yes, Lisa. Hey, Lisa, back again today. I just love seeing that. Yeah, why be rude? You can ask, if you didn't get your coffee the way you wanted, or if the food is cold, just, nicely say, "Hey, sorry to bother you, but, could you warm this up for me?" Or "My coffee's cold." And in most cases, they're going to say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me get that for you," or "Let me freshen that up for you." I think the places that we all go that we think maybe aren't important to, the people that we're seeing may not be, but I think they're up with the most important. I mean, Jesus said even the lowly. And I think we think sometimes that servers are, but guys, we'd be lost without them. And that's a job I don't know that I can do. That is hard work. But the checkout at the grocery store, oh my gosh, they have to put up with so much that I really try to be a little extra kind when I go through the grocery store line, which I don't go very often because it's not my favorite thing to do. And Dale loves it. I'm so blessed. Dale loves to go to the grocery store. I don't know, Diane, does John like to go to the grocery store? But he likes to go. So I don't go very often. But when I do go, or go to Walmart, any place that you're out shopping, so whether it's grocery shopping or, going to Walmart for something, or going to, I don't know, going to the mall, how we treat the people that are helping us. Now, sometimes, y'all, it's hard. Sometimes there are some grouchy people. And so I try to lighten the mood. I'm not always successful, but I'll say, "So you must be really having a hard day today." "Oh yeah, da 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 da." Sometimes they'll just open up and just start da 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 da. And I figure, well, I guess I'm here because they needed somebody to talk to, even though I might not have time or didn't have that on my schedule to take that extra 5 or 10 minutes to listen to their story. But y'all, I think people feel invisible. There's so many who are working out there, just in stores, that feel invisible. They feel undervalued. They feel oftentimes they're just lonely. And so they take that out by retreating inwardly and being snappy, not realizing that's just making their life worse. So as Christian, as basically just as a human being, but as a Christian, it is our response can make a big difference. Just being loving, and being respectful. Where are some other areas that y'all see that there are just ways that we can make a difference in living authentically, living our faith every day? So not like somebody says, and then you're going to go into a big long testimony and talk to them, and they're going to accept Jesus on the spot there at the grocery store. That is not even going to happen. But we can sow those seeds of kindness, and maybe somebody they're having coffee with some other time will, water that seed, so to speak. Because sometimes God calls us to be the seed, to plant the seeds of love, plant the seeds of kindness, plant his seeds and his message. So then somebody else is going to come along and they're going to water it, or they may be the one that, gets to actually be there when that person decides to choose Jesus. That's right. Oh, so back to, I am running down the road today. So Bible school over here. And the theme is is it, oh, it's all the theme is it's all about Jesus. Isn't that like perfect, right? And on the back of the t-shirt has one of my favorite verses, and it is one of my life verses, which is love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind. And then Jesus in Matthew right after this is, and the second is like unto it, love your neighbor as yourself. So if we love God with all our heart and we want to be obedient to him, how can we not be kind to others? It just makes sense. And I'm sure that's, why Jesus said, and the second is love your neighbor as yourself. So those of you, so three messages are in just those verses. The first one is to love God, accept who he is. If you're not a Christian, reach out to me. I'd love to chat with you more about that. If you are, how we respond every day to, just love him. Are we reading his word? Are we combining or connecting ourselves with other Christian people? Because that helps us grow. That's why we're here today, to grow and learn more, about him. I'm always hoping that comes out. And then how we treat others is, again, the same thing. And we don't have to preach it. We just have to live it. Just live it every day. And if you're in your car, okay, now some of you guys have this problem. I know that you do. I have a certain person in mind that I'm not going to shout out because they've told me numerous times that their hardest thing is controlling themselves in the car. They get so angry in the car, and it's like, now you may think that nobody's watching you, but your children are, or your grandchildren, if they're in the car with you. Even the people beside you, they can tell when you've got this grimace on your face and you're being aggravated, or you're on the phone being irritated with somebody, whatever that is, those things come out. And there are people that see that. So you might want to just say, okay, Lord, I am getting really mad today. Calm me, take a few deep breaths, because it really does work. We've talked about that. Take a few deep breaths and just pray through it. Oh, one of our gals in Las Vegas did an inspirational moment. This is about a year ago at one of our luncheons, and it was so cool. So she said that oftentimes, if you are taking one of those and you're wanting to pray, and you're wanting to really get into that mode, not just the quickie like, Lord, thank you for the day, but one of these where and you just do that deep breath. And she says, when you listen, it sounds like you're saying Yahweh. And Gail, thank you for that, because sometimes, when you need that peace to come over, when you need that calm to come out, and you take that deep breath, and you can say, just let the verbiage, let the sounds come out just as a sigh, but also Yahweh, or Jesus. Jesus, I need your peace. I need your calm right now. Lord, I'm getting so angry. Please bring me your peace. Those are the ways that you can calm your heart. Let your soul be calm by just praying his name, just saying its name as you breathe, as we breathe, right? He gives us our breath. So as we talk about as we're watching, and that people are watching us every day, and y'all know that already. I mean, I know that you do, but sometimes I think we just need to think about it a little bit more. I'm going to read you another scripture here. I gave you the 1 John 3:18, and Kathy, if you don't mind, put that scripture there, would you? 1 John 3:18. Love with words or speech, but with actions and truth is what that is. There are a couple other great quotes that I want to share with you. James 2:17 says, in the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. So you can stay home, and you can, now if you're sick and you're homebound, that's a different thing. But if you're just home all the time and you're never out and you're never talking to people and reaching out, you are suffering, and you can't show your faith. And that means that we need to have action. That's the point. We just need to have action of some type that relates so that we can share the message, just the message of love and how we treat each other. A couple of quotes now. I'm going to go to a couple of quotes. Uh, uh, Mahatma Gandhi said, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." So I'm wondering if Michael Jackson wrote that song about the man in the mirror based on that quote. I would almost think he is. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say." So are we walking? Are we walking the walk? Are we doing that? Or you don't even have to say it, and people will pay attention to it. Uh, and Albert Einstein. I thought I was kind of surprised by this. I've probably seen it before, but last night was the first time that really hit me. Strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value. And that's something John Maxwell talks about a lot, is the fact of just to be of value to other people around you, not so much worried about your own success and where you're going in the world and what your next plan is, but are we adding value as we go along? And I know that those of you who watch the show that I'm familiar with, which is most of you, I want to applaud you and tell you that everything I see about you does bring value to other people. Just the joy that you bring, the friendships that you bring, the acceptance of others, the love and respect. And I just pray that for all of you, that that's how we live our lives. Now I'm going to make the second term. Remember, I told you we're going to go two directions. So that direction is the living our life. The other is, because it says you don't have to preach it, but the other side is we do have to share it when called upon. And 1 Peter 3:15 talks about that, to be ready to share how and where and from where your hope comes. And that hope comes from Jesus, right? So one of the things that I've noticed is there are very few places anymore where you can actually share your testimony. We used to have that. So y'all know I grew up in the Baptist church, and there were always people standing and coming to the front and sharing their testimony being, what has God done for you? So that's my question to you. Be thinking about that. What has the Lord done for you? When did you decide? When did you decide that you love Jesus and wanted to make that decision? My podcast from all last year was every other week, every other Friday, someone came on the show and shared how they found Jesus or when they connected with him. Those are powerful stories. You all need to know your story and put it into words that you can express to others. And I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide an opportunity in the coming weeks or months. I don't have the timeline yet about how we work on our business 1 minutes. Well, we need to be able to be ready on the spot to share our faith message, our faith 1 minute. More times than not, it's going to be more than a minute. So, but if you get it down to say a 5 minute, somebody sits down and asks you, then I basically just say, oh, I would love to share that with you. Will you give me 3 minutes? Will you give me just 5 minutes to share with you what the Lord's done for me? And if you ask them permission and they say yes, then you've got you can just go for it. They don't want to hear everything in a 30-minute whatever. They don't want to hear, that long, but they want to know the bottom line of what has Jesus done for you and what does your faith mean to you. So I'll let y'all know when I offer that. In the meantime, you can just do it yourself. But if you need a little guidance and want to know how to maybe do that so you can be the most effective as you can, because if you only have so many words, you want them to be the words that have the most impact. But it's all about your story, not my story or anybody else's. But when they come to you, that's your permission. And God will open up those opportunities for you. And he'll let you do that. And sometimes they may say, well, I don't really have time right now to do that. And it's great. Well, could we just have a cup of coffee? And I promise. And what I always say is, now don't worry, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to preach at you. I'm just going to share with you what God has done for me, what the Lord has done for me. I haven't done this before because I've just been in the last year, God's been working on me for this, can I have 2 minutes of your time? And most everybody will give you 2. They might not give you 5. So, but honor that and make sure that you give them the opportunity to respond, right? All right. So on the one hand, you don't have to preach it, but when called upon, when somebody asks you, be ready to share that with others. And we're going to be talking about that at the Fun Fearless Female Luncheon this coming up next week. And I'll be offering that class as well. All right, my friends, we are almost at the top of the hour. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for. Do you remember Elmer Pyle? He hasn't been on. Is that, I don't know when that last time that show was on, but on Andy Griffith there was Elmer Pyle, and he'd say, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." A lot different than Elvis. Anyway, but thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Go today and remember that you are chosen. Oh, my friends, you are chosen. God chose you before time. He chose you before the creation of the world. Now, isn't that just so amazing? Before you were formed in the womb, before you were born, he chose you. He set you apart. Remember that and go live your life like a chosen one of the Lord Jesus. All right. Love you and see you next week, everybody. Bye now.